From a man who was dragged crying from court to some of the most violent outbursts and even a woman who completely passed out, these sentenced convicts learned the hard way that their lives are well and truly over. Welcome to 17 crazy courtroom prisoners reacting to their courtroom sentences. Don't forget to throw a comment down below on the video, let me know what you think of their sentences, and just in case I missed anything at all in the video, I do read every single comment. Number 17, Robert House. Convicted of armed robbery against the former NFL wide receiver and Super Bowl champion Joe Jurevicius, Robert House wasn't too happy with the sentence he received. Members of House's family screamed obscenities at sheriff's deputies when they began to wrestle the 24-year-old out of the courtroom when he reacted to the 46-year prison sentence. House pleaded guilty to aggravated burglary, aggravated robbery, burglary, and another home invasion robbery 2 days before he robbed Jurevicius. As House was dragged away screaming, the courtroom was cleared while members of House's family stormed out. Robert House will not be due for release until at least 2062. Number 16, Dexter Johnson. Sentenced to death for his role in a double murder in 2006, days after his 18th birthday, Johnson is so stunned by the sentence that he has to sit down in his chair. Rocking backwards and forwards, suddenly wails can be heard from the defendant's family, clearly distraught at the severity of the sentence. Moments later, deputies are seen rushing towards Johnson, who can no longer take the situation, or more importantly, his situation, sitting down. He is immediately pinned to the floor, and the family members are ushered from the courtroom before Johnson is escorted to a more secure location at the back of the court. More recently, Johnson was issued a stay of execution after claims he is intellectually disabled and therefore ineligible for the death penalty. Number 15, Diana Lovejoy. After a botched attempt to arrange the murder of her ex-husband, Diana Lovejoy thought she had gotten away with attempted murder. How wrong she was when, after being found guilty in court alongside her gun instructor partner, Weldon McDavid Jr., the sentence of 26 years to life was just a little bit too much for Lovejoy to handle, and as the judge further reads the sentence of Weldon McDavid Jr., 50 years to life, Lovejoy begins to wobble. She is soon face down on the table, with the judge immediately calling a halt to proceedings as court bailiffs try to assist the now almost unconscious Lovejoy. She was later rushed to the local hospital after being released from care. The sentence hearing was carried out at a later date. Number 14, Tony Farmer. Indicted by a grand jury on charges of kidnapping, assault and robbery against his former girlfriend, Farmer pled guilty to all charges in August 2012. He thought pleading guilty meant that he would only serve a small sentence in prison. However, when the judge read out the sentence of 4 years, Farmer hit the deck. He managed to compose himself for the rest of the hearing, and after serving 3 years was released in 2015 for good behaviour. Farmer was rearrested in 2020 on felony domestic abuse battery charges, which he denied at the time. Number 13, Lewis Reyes. Having robbed and beat a 90-year-old senior citizen, Lewis Reyes pled no contest and the prosecution pushed for a life sentence. Lucky for Reyes, minors cannot receive such a sentence thanks to a Supreme Court ruling. A plea deal saw him receive a 20-year sentence, and his reaction was clear upon leaving the courtroom. Number 12, Adrien Dunn. Learning that he will be spending the rest of his life in prison, Adrien Dunn was not impressed with his life sentence. Convicted of shooting a man in the back, Dunn had participated in a drug deal gone wrong. Raheem Charles lost his life during the botched meeting, and Dunn's sentence also reflected the fact that he had been to prison twice, including once for possession of a firearm. Dunn struggled with prison officers as he was taken back to serve his life sentence. Number 11, James Wason. Having caused many problems at earlier courtroom appearances, security was tight in the sentencing of James Wason for drug-related offences and probation violations. He was surrounded by officers after swearing at the judge, who was handing down the 35-year sentence in state prison. Wason attempted to escape from his shackles and was restrained by deputies, who made him sit and listen to the entire sentence. Number 10, Jeremy Christian. Self-confessed white supremacist Jeremy Christian became the most wanted man in Portland after he boarded a crowded train in 2017 and stabbed 3 men who tried to stop him, causing racial hate. During a court session where a witness was reading an impact statement, Christian began shouting abuse at the woman. He was then dragged from court while making threats to kill her and continuing his racial attacks. Christian was found guilty on all counts, including murder, attempted murder, and many other charges, where he was sentenced to life without parole. Number 9. Jahil Hoskins. Sentenced for the murder of his girlfriend Latrice Mays, Hoskins was far from pleased at his life without parole sentence. Having realised that he had nothing left to lose, Hoskins attempted to flip the podium and began shouting at his family. Members of the victim's family then shouted at Hoskins as he was dragged from court by officers. The judge then cleared the courtroom, which was in chaos. Number 8. Nicholas Lindsay. Not seeming entirely bothered by his impending sentence, convicted murderer Nicholas Lindsay twiddled his thumbs as details of the murder were read out. Convicted of killing law enforcement officer David Crawford, Lindsay was sentenced to life in prison without parole and was seen smiling as the sentence was read out. He has twice appealed the sentence, which has been denied both times. Number 7. Dylan Shoemaker. After agreeing to babysit Ashley Smith's 2 children while she went to work, 14-year-old Dylan Shoemaker attacked and murdered the eldest child. During his sentencing, Shoemaker turned to the victim and made an emotional apology. However, neither the judge nor the victim's family believed him. Shoemaker went viral for his emotional response, with users online mixed as to whether they were genuine or not. Many believed they were not, having used several phone calls in prison to claim his age would sway the jury. The Court of Appeals decided to decrease Dylan Shoemaker's prison term to 18 years to life from 25 years, with Shoemaker now up for parole in 2031. Number 6. Debor Ren. Seething with rage at his prison sentence, Ren launched himself over the judge's table in a frenzied attack before she could even finish reading the sentence. Multiple court and law enforcement officials were then seen attempting to restrain Ren as a marshal in the courtroom suffered a gash on his face that required 25 stitches. Judge Hulthus received medical attention at the Justice Centre and was taken to hospital by a family member due to continued pain from the crazy attack. Redden, who was dragged from the courtroom spitting and swearing, was later charged with 6 brand new felonies. This included with force or threat of force, extortion, intimidating public officials or others with the use of force, disregard for the safety of a person or property, and battery by prisoner, probationer, or parolee. Number 5. Shondell Jackson. Convicted of murdering University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee film student Nathan Potter, Shondell Jackson began looking behind him at the victim's family. After throwing several obscenities, Jackson was told to keep looking forward while he was sentenced. He continued to throw a string of obscenities at Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Rebecca Dallett, who delivered the sentence of life without parole. Jackson then became aggressive and had to be dragged from court by 3 deputies and Milwaukee police detectives after being pepper sprayed before being removed from the courtroom completely. His departure was followed by the victim's family members shouting, "God's the judge." Number 4. Ellis Nelson Ortiz Neves. Convicted of attacking and murdering a 4-year-old, 25-year-old Ellis Nelson Ortiz Neves stood quietly while the judge read out details of the case. As the judge went into more gruesome details of the case, Ortiz Neves reacted angrily and began wrestling with deputies. Ortiz Neves had to be forcibly removed from the court and officers failed to calm him down. He later returned to the courtroom without further incident and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for felony murder. Number 3. Jennifer Mee. Found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole, Hiccup Girl, as she'd become known in the media, was to spend the rest of her life in prison. After the guilty verdict was read out, Mee began sobbing uncontrollably after placing her head into her hands. She continued sobbing after being led away from court. Number 2. Tracy Hunter. Former juvenile court judge Tracy Hunter found herself on the other side of the bench after giving her brother access to confidential documents and being found guilty of improper interest in a public contract. After numerous appeals, Hunter was ordered to serve a 6-month jail sentence by Judge Norbert Nadal. She began arguing with court officials after realizing that she would indeed be going back to jail, and was then prepared to be moved from court before several of her supporters tried to rush in and save her. As the deputies moved towards the door, she slumped and had to be dragged from court by a female guard. Hunter served 2 months of her original 6-month sentence and completed her probation in 2020 and claimed that she was treated harshly because of her race. Number 1. Ricky Hand. In what is probably one of the most disgusting reactions to a sentence ever, armed robber Ricky Hand was sitting with his lawyer awaiting sentencing, having been found guilty a few days before. The judge decided to go hard on Hand, who had been in and out of prison for the last 30 years. He handed the 46-year-old convict a 40-year prison sentence, to which Hand can be heard saying, "Did you just give me 40 years, sir? You just gave me 40 years. Well, guess what?" He then proceeded to reach into his prison clothing and arm sling, producing a bottle of feces, before throwing it over his lawyer. He admitted to hiding several bottles of his own urine and other bodily substances on his person, having not been searched after leaving prison. Hand faced the extra 5 counts of harassment with bodily substance, obstructing official business and retaliation. However, his sentence for these crimes was never revealed. Thanks for watching this video on the top 17 angry convicts reacting to long court sentences. Please throw a like on the video to support the ongoing series, comment down below if you think I missed anything, and subscribe for more crazy courtroom videos coming soon.